All right, so I'm Mick Robson for PW Downunder. I'm here with the Sniper of the Skies, the Soul of PWA champion, the one and only Robbie Eagles. All right, so we're here for a big event coming up for PWA Black Label show, Chefs vs Troy on April 11 at the Factory Theatre. You've got a big match on that show, defending the Soul of PWA championship against the Thief, Jimmy Townsend. I just wanted to get your thoughts on that match, how you think it's going to go, and your thoughts on Jimmy Townsend, not just as an opponent, as a peer, but also as a student, since you're a coach at the academy. Love to hear your thoughts overall on Jimmy.
All right. Well, I'll have to correct you, Mick, because I don't see him as a peer in the slightest. The only thing that this thief has stolen is top spots of cards by God knows how, because I purely only see him as the bright-eyed, bushy-tailed student that walked into the Pro Wrestling Academy hoping to train with me. So he's not on my level. He's not anywhere close to being championship material for all I care. And for him to claim that he's the actual soul of PWA since defeating Mick Moretti, I mean that's just laughable because Mick hasn't been the champion for ages. I'm the current champion, and he's still talking about the past. So I really can summarize it very clearly in the fact that I don't think this is going to be much of a matchup. Much like a lot of the times when these people, the younger generation, come after me and want to talk about me being disrespectful or being an F word or whatever words they want to throw my way, they're not looking at the stats. They're not looking at the facts. And the facts are I've been wrestling 17 years. I have wins against the best this world can offer in pro wrestling. And that means that these people don't measure up, but they don't realize that until they're in the ring with me one on one firsthand. So it's going to be an eye opening experience for Jimmy. And I don't think it's going to be an eye opening experience for much for the people in attendance. But if he does have a lot of backers there, I'm just giving them the heads up that they're going to leave disappointed.
So, is it fair to say, do you take offense to Jimmy saying that he's the true soul of PWA? Does that
Oh,
play into your approach?
absolutely. I take offense to that because only one person can stake that claim, and that's whoever holds the championship. And that championship was, I believe, built for someone like myself, a pillar, as people would like to use in today's language, of PWA. There's so much historical evidence to show that behind the scenes and in ring from what you guys as like audience members and people that follow the product would experience, there's so much to say that if I didn't continue my pro wrestling career, if I didn't start, there are many times where PWA could have ended in an instant. But I was the glue that held it together. I was the one that banded everyone together and to keep on going and keep pushing. And, that's why I'm still an integral part of PWA today. He wants to talk about beating Mick Moretti. Where has he been since December? Nowhere to be seen. Not even anywhere else in the country for pro wrestling, right?
Yeah.
And then he wants to claim on to this big match with Grayson Waller that happened in Coliseum. Boo freaking who? Yeah, like first of all, you lost, so like you didn't beat him. And then secondly, where's Grayson been since then? Off in the WWE doing WWE things. He's not back helping PWA. That was a one-time only deal.
Yeah.
So I'm the constant. I'm the one that's always around. No matter where I go, I come back. And just because I miss a card here or there, Chris Gale and everyone else on the roster wants to come after me for not defending my title.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, but this is going to be the eighth defense of the the Soul of PWA. I've had two of them in North America, so I've made it a legitimate world title, unlike any of the other championships in this company.
Yeah.
And people still want to talk shit. So it's like people need to look at the reality of the landscape that we're in and understand that I'm doing so much for all of them to create a bigger awareness for PWA as a brand, but no one wants to thank me for that. So he can claim to be the true soul of PWA. I'm going to give him what for in the match for making that claim.
Well, I'll say, 'cause you know where I stand. I'm a Robbie Eagles fan. So I'll say thank you, Robbie, for what you do. Thank you for coming back to
Thank you, man.
Australia. Do
Appreciate
appreciate
it.
that. Talking about the Soul of PWA Championship, you've talked about it there, but what does that title mean to PWA and to yourself personally?
It's a legacy, right? I mean, its original version was the PWWA Championship, which was our our women's division, which has always been one of the strongest parts of the PWA product. Just look at, two of the top names that would be on the cards early on, Madison Eagles and Jessie McKay, aka Billy Kay from her time in WWE. So if you just look at those two, and they had battles all over Sydney, all across the PWA brand. I think it even like went into Victoria at one point during some Armageddon expos. So it's kind of gone across the country, right? But that's such an old fact that some of the people that are currently a part of it don't realize that that was the history and legacy, and they fought over that initial title.
Yeah, the
So to
original.
have people like that being the champions and fighting for that championship, for it to turn into what it is now, a genderless title, which is much alike to PWA as a whole. We don't like to see a line. We blur those lines, and we often do a lot with our product. So it's really calling back to that original concept. And I think honestly, like it's Madison's legacy. This championship is the legacy of Madison Eagles and what she built for not only PWA, but for wrestling in this country. So it's so important for this company to have its soul represented in a championship format, because what it means is it's the heart, it's the breath, it's the life of this company. And yes, the heavyweight championship, that's probably number one. I get that. But this isn't number two. This is equal to number one, and it's just in a different way. It's got a
Either one could
different.
main event. So solo PWA could be a main event. PWA Championship could be a main event.
Absolutely.
Equal footing for sure.
Absolutely. And two of the side plates have eagles on them, and I think it's fitting that another Eagles holds that legacy because I'm a direct student of Madison's training. So that's why I say it was purposely built for me. But I think it's really important to PWA. I mentioned just before, it's the only world title in our company, thanks to myself. And it continues to see more and more exposure across the world, having been to many New Japan events, walked down the ring with me. So as long as I hold it, it's going to continue to get more eyes on the championship and therefore more eyes on the company.
Absolutely. Shifting for a moment to the other big championship match on the card, you talked about the women of PWA, and we've seen it's Jessica Troy, it's Chev's last wrestler standing. What are your thoughts on those two and that match and that feud that's been happening?
It's been interesting to see how it's played out, especially as, two close friends turning into bitter enemies. And that's like a bit of a faux pas, or it's a bit of a trope in pro wrestling. But the way that this has come, like it's obviously come from absolute spite. And to see what Chebs has turned into, I never would have thought that she would side with North Shore Wrestling. But she struck a deal with the devil, and it's ended up in a title match for her. So the hatred between the two is maybe getting the better of Jess. But I've seen them both go to war with each other, alongside each other, and against multiple people, including myself. I felt it firsthand. So I know what they're both capable of. And it's a little frightening to think what can actually happen in this match, because I know, just looking from the outside in, how much they detest each other right now, and that's getting to that boiling point. And when you're at that boiling point, you're not thinking straight. You're thinking about just one clear objective, and their objective is this person cannot stand up. I must win. And it's not just the championship on the line, it's their entire career, because they've been latched together from the very start, and now they're trying to separate themselves and create their own names, which I feel like they already have. But this is their spotlight moment in PWA to really cement who is the better wrestler. And I think in the past, looking at the history, Jess probably has Chev's number a little bit, but that's not to say that Chev's can't take her here, because she's a whole different beast. This human weapon version of Chev's, especially under the North Shore Wrestling banner, she's willing to do things that, Chev's a year ago probably wouldn't even fathom.
And the rules of last wrestler standing, I'm assuming that's no rules, right? It's just keep them down for 10 by any means possible. So
I mean, if that's what has been historically done before, I'm guessing the same as you, but we'll have to see what happens on the night, right?
absolutely. I remember last time they had a match at Factory Theatre, it was no DQ, and that was insane enough. I like to say Jess and Chebs bring out the best and the worst out of each other. So I'm looking forward to that. I'm talking about being at Factory Theatre. It's become like the new spiritual home of PWA, I would say. Now that we're away from Max Watts Liberty Hall, it's now a lot of big events at the Factory Theatre. What's your thoughts on the Factory Theatre as a venue for wrestling for anyone that might be coming for the first time or watching for the first time? What is the Factory Theatre like as a venue for wrestling? What is that live experience like?
I think it's really cool because the Factory Theatre has been one of my favorite venues, even from attending, music gigs and
Yeah,
live bands and stuff like that. And it's just a cool vibe from when you first walk into the facility because you walk through that first sort of tunnelway and it's its own little village because it's not just one venue, it's multiple venues kind of built into one. And then sometimes there's a bit of a party going on at that downstairs bar area before you even work your way upstairs to the main Factory Theatre room that we perform in.
yeah,
So you get like this really cool vibe and there's a food truck at the front. So I think it's one of the best intimate venues in, I'd like to say, Australia, having competed across a lot of them. Yeah, it's not the biggest, but it can still fit like quite a few people in there because it's quite a long stretch. So,
yeah.
it gets packed out, and I've been there for those packed events.
It gets the job
Uh,
done. No matter the size, it still gets the job done, right?
Absolutely. The atmosphere in Factory Theatre is always great. And I think that's because of that Marrickville inner city kind of vibe that comes with it. And because the Factory Theatre has always been associated with stand-up comedy, live bands, probably some burlesque and stuff like that, it's got this really cool cultural vibe. And now that we are a strong part of that, and there's been wrestling at Factory Theatre before, PWA participated there as well. To be a part of that is really awesome. And we feel at the moment we walk in, whether we're setting up the ring or whether we're walking in to go straight backstage and kind of get ready for the match, it hits you like a thick cloud that you're walking through as you walk through that first door. So I think everyone will feel that. It's a welcoming environment from what I know, and it's often ends in a party too. So let's hope it's not a sad party this
Yeah.
time. If people want Jess to win and she doesn't, or if people want Chevs to win and she doesn't. We want it to be a party either way. It's just, sometimes you can't predict how these main events are going to end up.
Either way, there'll be a drink or two afterwards, celebrating or commiserating. There'll be drinks to be had either way.
Yeah, yeah. Commissary drinks downstairs in that first bar that you walked through that had the party as you were going upstairs. So
Exactly.
that's the best point of call.
Yeah, absolutely. Talking about the Australian scene as a whole, I don't think anyone knows the Australian scene better than you do over the past 17 years. What are your thoughts on the Australian scene currently, especially after AEW Grand Slam and the Australia Super Show, all those big events? What are your thoughts on the Australian scene currently?
I love the growth that the Australian scene continues to have year after year. And things like being a part of AEW's Grand Slam and thus in turn being a part of the Australian Super Show that Pro Wrestling League and Renegades of Wrestling ran, it allows me to see talent that I haven't had a first-hand experience at for the first time, I guess.
Yeah,
Um, Especially in Queensland, I feel like there's a lot of undiscovered gems because they're still kind of just burrowing out of a previous rhetoric of I guess reputation that Queensland wrestling had for a while, which wasn't of the highest regard.
yeah,
Now
white
they're starting to
understand.
break through that, so
Yeah,
I like that, and I'm liking discovering the talent that's coming out of that. Seeing people like Jesse Love and Jazzy for the first time, it was
yeah,
cool to see them part of the Pro Wrestling League Super Show. I know they do a lot for UPW. But then you've got a lot of IPW involvement as well, with Toa coming from that side of the nest, and I've been able to be a part of some shows that he's been on recently.
yeah.
So it's cool to see like this burgeoning talent year after year, and I feel like as we discover those new talents, well, this is from my perspective, sorry, but um, they get better and better because the tools that they have access to when they first start training are better than they were when I first started training in 2008.
Yeah.
So I think we're in like a great period for Australian wrestling. I can't wait to see the next step. And I look forward to when I hit my 20 years in 3 years' time, seeing what
Wow.
the landscape's like in Australian wrestling. Yeah, it's not far off. So,
Yeah. Big celebration, I'm sure.
yeah, I mean, I'll be 38 at that point, so I don't know how hard I can celebrate, but we'll see. We'll see.
And about this scene getting better, you said there, all the tools are better. It's like they say iron sharpens iron. I think that's probably the case with the training we have and the talent we have available that are still working as coaches, including PWA Academy and so on. Um, who's some talents you would I know you mentioned a few there from Queensland, but what about Australia as a whole? Who are some talents you think we should be looking out for in the future? People we should be keeping an eye out for.
See, that's a really tough question because there's so many across the country that catch my eye. And then sometimes it can be a little bit flavor of the month. And it's like I see someone and then you don't hear for them for a few months, or they pop off on Instagram and then they kind of like fizzle out. And that's the hard thing about not having an industry that's self-sustainable in the sense that people can do this for a crust in Australia yet, right? They're
Yeah,
wrestling on the weekends, and some of them can do Friday, Saturday, Sunday that are fortunate enough to do that. But even that's not enough to be consistent that they're doing that every weekend. So it's unfortunate. Um, so I look forward to it growing to something stronger so that people can do it more often, and especially the talent that put in the work, I want them to get the rewards out of it. There's a couple of names that I've mentioned on some other interviews. I know there's a guy, Kai, I think he's Kai Toa from RCW, from Adelaide.
yeah, I've heard
Uh,
the name. Yep.
he really caught my eye. He had a match with Gino Gambino recently, I think, and that kind of caught my attention. And I see a lot of similarities in my earlier years to what he's producing. Uh, Another guy, like he's not associated with PWA or with the Pro Wrestling Academy, but Jimmy Zero in
Yeah,
Sydney, um, special talent, I think, and
great abs. Seen his.
yeah, in amazing shape for 18 years old.
Yeah,
Like I can't wait for him to fill out and grow into his body because he's just going to be a beast.
yeah.
And if he still keeps any of the athleticism, he'll give Braxton a run for his money. You know what I
It'd
mean?
be
So
cool,
like
but I agree. Yeah,
that'd be a great matchup to see in the future. But he's still so early into his career. I think he's only like 18 months in, predominantly working out of All Star Wrestling Australia. But I really like to see him expand his horizons and get into more places. If I look internally at the PWA roster, it's hard to look past some of our younger talent that's starting to break onto the cards, like Marley Paletti. I
mm,
got to recently have a match with at the Beer
yeah.
Shed.
I was there. Yeah, that was great.
He impressed me. And then you've got El Phoenician and is it Malik as well?
Yeah,
You know, they're all doing great stuff, and I see them at training. And then there's other people, underneath all those guys that are at training too, that I get excited for when they're going to have their first matches or when they're going to start kind of breaking out. So those are the ones that are kind of catching my eye, but realistically, it's everyone. Like I have a soft spot for a lot of people in PWA, as much as they may piss me off when they talk shit, Mick,
yeah,
but I still have a spot for them, especially as I see their growth, because I'm never prouder than when I've had a hand in teaching someone a lesson, whether it's, physical or physiological, or psychological, sorry,
yeah.
uh, and see them make those adaptations and then change and excel in pro wrestling one way or another. I'm so proud of that. And
It's like
I'll,
I don't know if you know, but my day job is a teacher. I'm a primary school teacher. So one of my things as a teacher I love is that light bulb moment when you see the light bulb go off in the kid's head and they get something. I'd assume that'd be similar for you to see that moment when
absolutely.
it clicks. Yeah.
Absolutely. I just hate when like I feel it firsthand because they've learnt the lesson and they turn around and put it on me in the ring. And I'm like, no, 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 that's not how it
No,
works.
no. Use it on
In the
someone
ring,
else, not me. Yeah.
yeah, yeah, pretend to forget what I taught you and do something else. But that's another conversation.
You mentioned expanding your horizons, and you've done that quite well. You're signed to New Japan Pro Wrestling as well as what you do here in Australia. How do you juggle that between working in New Japan and coming back to Australia? It's a unique circumstance, and you mentioned it before about a lot of people leave and don't come back, but you managed to do both. How do you do that, and how do you feel it's working out?
I'm forever fortunate that that's my situation. That could change, any month from now, any year from now. So I'm just grateful that that's the current environment that I work in, and that New Japan Pro Wrestling, you know, um, allow me that freedom to do that. Otherwise, it would just purely be downtime and just training at the Pro Wrestling Academy, which is great, but being active in the scene is something that I've always wanted to do no matter where I've been taken. I use the lessons that I learn personally when I'm abroad, especially when I'm wrestling someone from another country for the first time, and I feel something different in the ring. And then, especially if I make a mistake that costs me a match, or I make a mistake that, causes me pretty bad bodily harm, I then bring that back to the Pro Wrestling Academy and I go, learn from my mistake, learn from my error. Here's what happened to me. I don't want you to have that same issue when you then make it to that level, or you wrestle this person, or you wrestle someone of that same style. So I love to be able to do that, and I think that helps influence the style that we have here in Australia.
Very much a hybrid.
Yeah, and I feel like, I mean, this might be tooting my own horn a little bit, but I do have my hand in a lot of younger wrestlers, learnings, whether it's after having a match with them and giving them some feedback and critique and whatever it may be. But I feel like the style overall in Australia that I see is more akin to the way that I wrestle these days. And that kind of makes me quite happy. And I like to think that that's a major part of my influence on this country's wrestling overall.
Quite a badge of
I
honor
could,
to say that you've got that influence over the style like that. Something to be proud of
yeah,
as
and
well.
I think a lot of people see that there's a pathway to, there's a pathway to many different places that they can get to because I've had a hand in training a lot of talent that are in the major companies in America, like Grayson and Kyle Fletcher, for example. And then you've also got myself in New Japan Pro Wrestling, and we've had Caveman Ugg go over, who's a product of our academy, and then the Velocities as well, who've done most of their training with us at the Pro Wrestling Academy, coming over for Super Junior Tag League. I had a pretty strong hand in all of their training, so I've kind of molded them to go to that path. And then as these guys were going to WWE, like Grayson, for example, I've helped him along the way. And even now I get comments from some people that may have matches with Grayson over there, and they giving me compliments of how good he is in the ring. And so that's a very what's the word I'm looking for? That's a great example of what we're doing at the Pro Wrestling Academy, but also it fills my heart with joy that my teachings are kind of getting seen by many, many people outside of the world.
It's really great to see. One thing I noticed with Grayson was how quickly he went from going to the PC to being on TV. It was like 3 months. So to transition that quickly was a testament to how you guys train and how prepared he was for that experience as well.
Definitely.
So you had a recently had a big experience at AEW Grand Slam or on the Ring of Honor show, challenging for that Ring of Honor Pure title against Lee Moriarty. What was that experience like? Did you learn anything from that? What was it like being in front of a crowd that size in Australia?
I learnt that close to 11,000 people knew who I was. So that was really cool for me because there was a little bit of unknown in the air in terms of I've never wrestled in a building that big in Australia before. And, predominantly a lot of the people in attendance were what we would call casual fans of pro wrestling. They're not diehards and going to the local events every weekend and even following the wrestlers on social media. They just maybe have seen a match of theirs or heard of their name before. Uh, I got told that as the arena was filling in, there was a few Robbie, oi, oi, oi chants
Yep,
scattering amongst
I
the
could hear
crowd.
that.
So,
I might have been trying to start something as well.
so that's like really cool because I don't ever think things like that would happen. Like I didn't even think I'd be a part of an arena show before. So to be a part of that whole experience was fantastic. I learn a lot from working with Lee. He's someone I've had my eye on for a long, long time. We've kind of been not friends, but we've been friendly for a couple of years online, and we've kind of watched each other's work. So I think that was realized by the people that watched our match because we had done our scouting. We had kind of known what the other was about. And I really didn't want to let that opportunity slip through my fingers. Having my third ROH championship opportunity for third straight year, but this time in my backyard of Australia, I was like, okay, this is my time to become an ROH champion, and then I can turn it to ROB instead of ROH.
Love that. Just to wrap up, I guess. So wondering what future plans you have in store, any future things coming up, major or just interesting things coming up that you want to let the fans know about?
Obviously, I'm going to be back in Japan for Sakura Genesis. I'll be defending my IWGP Junior Heavyweight Tag Team titles with Kosei Fujita against Robbie X and Taiji Ishimori on the Junior Genesis show April 4th from a sold out Korakuen Hall. April 11th, we've got Chevs versus Troy, which has the title match that we've been talking about. Soul of PWA on the line, me versus Jimmy Townsend. And then after that, people are going to have to stay tuned to what's coming next. There are some things on the horizon, some things I'm very excited about, both abroad and locally. But I mean, the main thing for me is I'm looking to continue past my first year as Soul of PWA, and we'll pretty much hit that when we come through the factory theater.
Yeah.
And I'm just looking forward to, kicking forward with my 17th year and striving for more. And, like I mentioned, 20 years is 3 years away. I don't know how many more years there'll be in pro wrestling for Robbie Eagles after that point. So jump on board the Lim Reaper bandwagon while you still can.
Enjoy it while it lasts. So,
Yep.
absolutely. Thank you so much, Robbie. I really appreciate you taking the time this afternoon. I know you've got a busy schedule, so take anything we can, and we're looking very much forward to your match of Jimmy, Factory Theatre, April 11, and Chef's vs. Troy as well. So thank you so much, and look forward to seeing a lot more from you.
No worries, Mick. You'll see me all the time as you always do.
Absolutely. Thanks so much. Yeah,
Thanks,
bye.
mate.